Welcome back to CinemaScoop. Today we will recap the mind-boggling 2019 psychological horror film, Us. Stay tuned to the end for a plot twist that will make you question reality. Spoilers ahead. As the movie begins, we see a Hand Across America commercial playing on the TV as a young Adelaide watches along. Later, we see Adelaide and her parents at a carnival at Santa Cruz Beach. Her father, Russell, wins her a Michael Jackson Thriller t-shirt. They walk through the carnival, and Adelaide watches her parents argue while she looks around at other families expressing love. Her father decides to play whack-a-mole, and her mother, Rain, leaves to go to the bathroom. Adelaide wanders off, and as she looks around, she notices a homeless man holding a cardboard poster with Jeremiah 11:11 written on it. She passes by him and continues strolling until she reaches a funhouse. She's visibly creeped out as she walks through it and stumbles upon a room full of mirrors. The lights go out, and as her breathing gets ragged, she sees an exit sign and walks towards it but bumps into a mirror as if it was only a reflection. She begins to whistle the tune of Itsy Bitsy Spider, but begins hearing a whistle back. Not aware of who is there, she walks backwards until she senses a presence behind her. When she turns around, she sees the back of herself, and her face drops in shock. We jump forward years later to a mature Adelaide on a trip with her husband, Gabe Wilson, and her two children, Zora Wilson and Jason Wilson. They arrive at Adelaide's old home and talk over lunch. Zora admits to no longer being interested in track and field, but her parents encourage her to continue. She asks if she can drive while they're there, but they both refuse. Gabe tells Zora to practice her running on the beach and announces that they'll be going on a beach trip later with his friends Josh and Kitty. Adelaide asks what beach. Gabe says Santa Cruz, and Adelaide is visibly bothered by this. Jason attempts to do a magic trick with a lighter but fails to show them. We jump back to the past to see the aftermath of Adelaide's scary funhouse incident. Her parents consult a therapist because Adelaide refuses to speak. She watches them from another room as the tension between them is still apparent. The therapist tells them to encourage Adelaide to express her story through other art forms, such as writing, drawing, and dancing. As her mother, Rain, cries, Russell tries to console her, but she pulls away from him, so he leaves. Back in the present, Adelaide and Gabe have a bit of a disagreement about going to Santa Cruz, but she does not admit her fears. He eventually convinces her to go. Later, Adelaide looks for Jason, who is hiding in the bathroom. He scares Zora with a gorilla mask when she enters and runs to hide in a little room, but places a toy by the doorframe to stop the door from closing since it can only be opened from the outside. But Zora knows this and kicks away the toy, causing the door to close. We see Adelaide downstairs, sidetracked by her old things, and as she has a memory of younger herself dancing, she hears a pounding that pulls her back to reality. Jason is stuck in the room crying out for her, and Adelaide opens the door reiterating that he shouldn't play in there. Then they all hear a horn blowing outside and head to the jetty to see Gabe flaunting his new motorboat. The boat engine gives out and they stare at him as he bangs on it to get it started again. Later they head to the beach and Adelaide turns on the radio. "Got 5 on it," plays, and they all sing along. Adelaide helps Jason get in rhythm by snapping her fingers, and he begins snapping along as well. As the beach comes into view, we see Adelaide visibly bothered again. She has a memory of her younger self hyperventilating in the car just after the funhouse incident while her parents argue in the front seat. She is brought back to reality by a crime scene, and as an officer guides them along, she notices that the victim is the homeless man with the Jeremiah 11:11 poster that she saw when she was younger. They walk over to Josh and Kitty on the beach, and Adelaide looks back at the funhouse on the way. Kitty tries to talk with Adelaide but notices she seems off. However, Adelaide does not divulge her troubles and keeps an eye on her kids every now and then. Josh, Kitty's husband, offers them drinks, and it is here that we see that their relationship is rocky. Josh and Kitty's twins talk with Zora while Jason heads to the bathroom. On his way back, he notices a man standing with his arms outstretched and blood dripping from his fingertips. Adelaide eventually notices that Jason is missing and grows more and more on edge as searches for him. When she spots him, she frantically runs to him. Gabe decides that they'll just go home after seeing how freaked out Adelaide is. Later that night, as Adelaide talks with Jason before bed, he shows her 11:11 on the alarm clock. She takes his mask and packs away his toys but notices a drawing of him staring at a man with blood on his hands. She questions him about this, but he says that he doesn't know the person. In her room, she gapes out the window, ignoring Gabe as he talks about the next day's activities. She eventually confesses that she wants to leave because she doesn't feel like herself while she's there. She tells him what happened to her at the funhouse and expresses that she believes the girl she saw there is still after her. Gabe doesn't seem to believe her, and he tries to crack jokes about it to lighten the mood but fails. The power goes out, and Jason comes to tell them that there's a family in their driveway. We see a family of 4 holding hands in red jumpsuits, their faces obscured by the darkness. Adelaide begins to panic as they look at them and she calls 911. However, Gabe doesn't think that's that big of a deal and heads outside to handle it himself against Adelaide's better judgment. He tells the family to leave, but they don't budge. Adelaide instructs Zora to put her shoes on, and Gabe heads back inside as he now senses that something is off. He tells Adelaide to call the cops, and she tells him that they said they're 14 minutes away. He takes a bat and heads back outside to try to scare them off, but the woman signals for the family to advance toward the house, and Gabe rushes back inside. The two children head to the sides of the house, and the man begins pounding on the door. We hear the woman whistling as she approaches the house with a pair of scissors and unlocks the door with the key hidden under a rock. Gabe pushes against the door, attempting to keep it closed, but the man manages to get a hold of the bat and injures Gabe's leg with it. The strangers enter the house, and the woman looks around before sitting on a chair. The boy lights the fireplace, and they all notice that the strange family looks exactly like them. Gabe tells them that they don't have anything to offer them, but Adelaide's doppelganger, Red, cuts him off. She tells them a story of a girl tethered to her shadow. The shadow experienced the opposite of all the good that the girl would experience, and so the shadow hated the girl. Gabe tells them that they can take whatever they want, but Abraham, his doppelganger, begins to shout at him to keep him quiet. Red gives Adelaide handcuffs and orders her to tether herself to the table, while threatening to harm them if she doesn't comply. Then she orders Abraham to go after Gabe, and he proceeds to drag Gabe outside by the leg. Red instructs Zora to run and sends her doppelganger Umbri after her. We see Zora running away as Umbri watches in excitement, ready for the chase. Pluto, Jason's masked doppelganger, reaches out for Jason, and Adelaide secretly advises him to show Pluto one of his tricks before reluctantly letting him go. Jason takes him to the little room and places the toy by the doorframe. Red stares intently at Adelaide while Gabe pleads with Abraham to stop this before Abraham knocks him out. In the little room, Pluto lights a match and pulls Jason's toy mask over his face, then urges him to do his lighter trick. It fails, but Jason then raises his hand and Pluto begins to mimic his movements. Jason notices this and removes his mask to get Pluto to remove his. He begins to hyperventilate when he sees that the bottom half of Pluto's face has been burned, and the light from the match goes out. We see Zora crying as she walks through the street. Umbri finds her, and Zora tries to hide behind a car. When Umbri gets on top of it, the owner sees her and instructs her to get off. Zora sees this distraction as her chance to run and takes off back to the house as Umbri attacks the man with her scissors. Back at the house, Adelaide questions Umbri about what she wants. As Umbri presses Adelaide's head on the glass table, causing it to crack, Red confesses that they want to take their time in killing them as they've been waiting for this day to come. We see Abraham driving the boat and Gabe tears a hole in the plastic bag he's trapped in. When the engine cuts out, Abraham tries to restart it by banging on it but stops when he hears a zombie-like sound. He responds with a sound of his own, and as he goes back to banging on the engine, Gabe hits him across the head with the baseball bat. He falls over into the water with a rope connected to his leg. The engine starts again, and Gabe loses his balance before falling into the water as well. Abraham surfaces, and just as he is about to stab Gabe, the boat pulls him along by the rope. Back in the little room, Jason pulls the mask back over his face, prompting Pluto to do the same. Pluto tries to get him to make the lighter trick work, and when it sparks, this frightens him, and Jason runs out of the room, locking Pluto in. Pluto's cries alert Red, and she releases Adelaide's head from the table to go help him. Adelaide uses a fire iron to escape. The boat continues to drive around aimlessly until stopping near Gabe. As he climbs up on the boat, Abraham resurfaces and grabs him from behind, trying to stab him with the scissors. Gabe intentionally bangs his head on the engine to restart it, and Abraham is killed as he gets caught in the rotor blades. Still cuffed, Adelaide holds the fire iron as a weapon, cautiously searching the house for Jason. When she finds him, Pluto and Red begin chasing them, and they run outside at the same time that Zora returns. Just then, they hear the horn of the motorboat and run to the jetty. They board it and head to Josh and Kitty's house, narrowly escaping Pluto and Red, who is following closely behind. At Josh and Kitty's house, we see Josh relaxing as the lights go off and back on. Kitty tells him she heard something outside and that the backup generator turned on. She urges him to go look, but he refuses. After a bit of bickering, he finally obliges, but fakes, seeing someone to scare her. The twins come out to ask about what's going on, but Josh assures them that it's nothing. Just then, their doppelgangers appear behind them and kill them with scissors. Josh and Kitty's doppelgangers do the same. When Adelaide and her family arrive, Josh's doppelganger, Tex, answers the door. Adelaide hits him in the head with the fire iron, but this barely affects him, and his family pulls her into the house. Gabe tells the kids to run while Tex approaches him. He limps, using the baseball bat as a cane, and lures Tex away to Josh's boat. Zora and Gabe enter the house, and Zora picks up a golf club to use as a weapon. Jason also arms himself with a crystal rock trophy, and they head upstairs as they hear Adelaide in distress. Zora kills both twin doppelgangers with the golf club. As Dahlia, Kitty's doppelganger, holds Adelaide hostage, She applies makeup while looking in the mirror. On Josh's boat, Gabe fires a flare at Josh but misses. As they fight outside, Dahlia watches from the window as Gabe murders him. Zora sneaks up from behind and tries to kill Dahlia with the club, but Dahlia is aware of this and reacts quickly. She holds Zora down, and as she's about to kill her with her scissors, Gabe bashes the crystal rock trophy across the back of her head, killing her in the process. The Wilsons regroup and sit at the table, trying to reach 911. Jason questions how many doppelgangers there will be, and they all head to the TV to watch the news. They discover that there has been widespread chaos, and a witness gives an account of seeing people in red jumpsuits stabbing others. She mentions that the killers came from the sewers before disconnecting. We see a clip on the TV of the people in red jumpsuits holding hands before the person who recorded the video is killed. Adelaide suggests that they leave now, but Gabe disagrees, stating that they have everything they need to survive at Josh and Kitty's house. Adelaide tells him that the doppelgangers think like them, and since they know where they are, they won't stop until they've killed them. Gabe puts his foot down, stating that they're not leaving, but Adelaide objects to this, shouting that he no longer makes the decisions. They head to Josh's car, but when Adelaide goes back inside to get the kids, she notices that one of the twin doppelgangers is no longer there. She spots the key on the island and grabs it before sensing the doppelganger behind her. She uses a pan from the sink to knock the doppelganger over and kills her with a pair of scissors she finds on the floor. Jason walks in to see this as his mother grunts in an animal-like way. When she notices him, she stops and unlocks the car with the car key. They get in, but Zora and Adelaide have a little dispute about who will drive before Jason alerts them to Umbre standing in the driveway. Zora tries to run her over, but she hops into the car. Umbre stabs the windshield, attempting to kill Zora, but Zora speeds up and then abruptly stops the car, which sends Umbre flying. Adelaide exits the car and searches for Umbre. She finds her in a tree about to die, and Adelaide hushes her as she fades away. They drive back to the boardwalk, looking around at everyone that's been killed. They stop when they see their car on fire, and when Adelaide reverses, Pluto appears from under Josh's car. He stares at them while snapping his fingers, and Adelaide exits with the fire iron. She signals him to take off his mask, and when he does so, he looks behind her at Jason and smiles. Jason realizes that it's a trap and tells them to get out. As Pluto keeps snapping, Adelaide looks back to see a trail of gasoline leading to the car. A match appears in Pluto's hand, but Jason stares at him and stretches his hands out to the side, which prompts Pluto to do the same. Then Jason begins walking backwards and Pluto mimics him until he reverses into the fire. While everyone watches ahead at this, Red kidnaps Jason. Adelaide hears Gabe calling for him, and she begins screaming as she runs to find him. Still cuffed and holding the fire iron, she walks to the beach to see a long line of doppelgangers with joined hands. Amongst them, we see the man that Jason saw on the beach earlier, and we come to find out that he is the doppelganger of the homeless man with the Jeremiah 11:11 poster. Adelaide enters the funhouse and heads down to the underground tunnel in search of Jason. Zora and Gabe find an ambulance to hide in, and Zora alerts him of the line when she spots it. Adelaide finds Red in a classroom, and she asks about Jason's whereabouts. Red ignores this and divulges the origins of the underground tunnel. She tells her that humans figured out a way to make clones of them but not the soul, hence why they are tethered. They intended to use the clones to control the people above but failed to do so, and abandoned them in the tunnels. Red tells her that God brought them together that night in the funhouse, and says she could have taken her with her. The Tethered saw that Red was different, and believed she could help them to escape their misery. They planned for years, and Red believed she needed to make a statement for the world to see that it was their time now. They begin fighting, and Red wounds her before disappearing. She appears again, sneaking up behind Adelaide to kill her, but Adelaide turns around just in time to impale her with the fire iron. As Red dies, she whistles Itsy Bitsy Spider, and Adelaide chokes her with the handcuffs while showing signs of the doppelganger's behavior and screeching like them. She lets go of Red and stares at her as she begins to laugh. While still behaving like her doppelganger, she uses the key around Red's neck to remove the cuffs, but hears a sound coming from a locker. When she opens it, she finds Jason hiding inside, but when she hugs him, he refuses to hug her back. She tries to show him that it's really her, but he continues to stare at her in fear. She assures him that their doppelgangers can't hurt them anymore, but he disagrees. She tells him everything will be like it was before, and they leave the tunnel. After regrouping with the rest of the family, Adelaide drives them away in the ambulance with Jason in the passenger seat. Adelaide fades into a memory of her parents speaking with the therapist, and we finally see the rest of the incident that occurred in the funhouse. When a younger Adelaide met Red for the first time, Red knocked her out and dragged her down to the tunnels. She handcuffed Adelaide to a bed frame, swapped clothes with her, and left. We come to find out that it was actually Red this whole time, and as she comes back to reality, she looks over at Jason, who is staring at her, obviously aware of the truth. She smiles and looks away, and he pulls his mask down. As they drive away, we see an overhead view of the line. Subscribe to CinemaScoop so you never miss the latest movie explanations, reviews, and analyses. Thanks for watching.